Okay, everybody, Shabbat Shalom. It's time for a word of Torah. It's Friday night, every Friday night in my house, and we do this at our Shabbat dinners at the synagogue also, which we will get back to someday, God willing. We'll all be eating chicken together at some point, I promise. We say the priestly blessing. We do this specifically on Friday night to bless our children. It's a beautiful bracha, and it happens to be in this week's Torah portion, Parshat Naso. This blessing is the oldest blessing that we have in our tradition because it comes right from the Bible, from the book of Numbers. And we still say it today, like I said, every Friday night. We say it at weddings and on other special occasions. We say this blessing. And it's one that, that millions of people around the world know, and you probably know it too. So the question I want to talk about tonight is, what is it that makes the priestly blessing so enduring and so powerful when it's very simple and elegant. So we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to share my screen with everybody. And this is the priestly blessing, Birkat Kohanim it's called. And we're looking just at verses 24, 25, and 26. And again, these are words that you probably know because they're so common. So there are a couple of things that make this blessing so special. The first, and so enduring. The first is the structure of it. If you look at verses 24, 25, and 26, it's a progression in terms of the words. The first line has 3 words in Hebrew. If you just focus on the Hebrew for a moment, the first verse has 3 Hebrew words. The second verse has 5, and then the third verse has 7. So 3, 5, 7. It's a nice and even progression. And if you want to take a deeper dive in terms of its structure, if you count the Hebrew letters in each line, it is also a progression. The first verse has 15 Hebrew letters. The second verse has 20, and then the third and final verse has 25. So there's something soothing and calming about the structure of this beautiful and simple prayer. And also on top of that, the word for God, Adonai, is the second word in each of the 3 verses. But there's more that I think makes Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing, so powerful and enduring. And for that, we need to look at interpretation of the verses themselves. The first verse says, "May the Lord bless you and protect you." So scholars have wondered, how should we interpret that verse? The biblical exegete Rashi, who was Middle Ages, lived in France, 13th century, and he was the Bible scholar par excellence. He has a very well-known commentary on the entire Torah and Talmud and other writings. Rashi said that "May the Lord bless you" means that God should bless you with wealth, with material blessing, and "protect you" means that God should protect you, one, from it being taken from you by robbers or whatever. Or Rashi also thinks it can mean, may God protect your soul, that you won't become corrupted by your material success. So that first verse really focuses on material goodness and being comfortable in life in that sense. But then the next 2 verses focus on relationships. The second verse says, may God show his face to you and be gracious to you. And this idea of the divine face is a reminder to us that we should see God's face whenever we look at another human being. So especially, of course, with the people with whom we love. So whenever you look at a loved one or any human being, this blessing encourages you to see the reflection of God in that other human being. And then the third verse And this translation doesn't quite do it justice. The third verse says, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Yisa Adonai panav means that God should lift God's face to you. And I think this also has to do with relationships. It is inevitable that with family members, with friends, we're going to do things to disappoint one another. We're going to do things that will upset someone else. And so when that happens, we are supposed to lift the face of the other person. And in lifting them up, we are meant to repair that relationship that we have caused a rupture by our behavior. So that's why I think this blessing is so powerful and so enduring. It focuses first on our physical comfort, but then it gets to something that is perhaps even more important than that, the relationships with the people in our lives. That we should see God's face in the other, and that when we hurt them, we should lift them up and work hard to repair those relationships, which are so precious. And maybe this is why this is the blessing that we say to our children every Friday night, because every week we need to revisit those key relationships in our lives, especially with our children. So I would encourage you to, say this prayer with your family every week, every Friday night. Give it a try. If you're not doing it, say for 3 or 4 Fridays in a row, whenever you can. Just say this simple 3-line blessing. And let me know if it makes a difference, if it brings your family closer together, if it brings the shalom, the peace that is the last word of the blessing. If you follow this formula, hopefully, God willing, it will bring you and your family peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.